Catherine, thank you so much for joining in on CNN News 18. To begin with, first of all, give us a sense of how Donald Trump and Kamala Harris are doing on an average in the latest polls. Also, how are they faring in the swing state polls?
Yeah, so right now, polls are very tight. Both Harris and Trump are polling very similarly. The latest CBS News poll shows Harris leading Trump by 1 point at 59 to 40, or I'm sorry, 50% to 49% among likely voters. And she has a 2 point edge in a previous ABC poll, while that inched up just a little bit in its latest iteration at 51% to 47%. And in swing states, things are even tighter. There are a couple of states that show Harris ahead, while others show Trump ahead. And it really is going to be coming down to states like Georgia, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, but no clear winner has emerged yet.
Many political analysts are asking if joining the election race late is proving costly for Kamala Harris, because for Harris, the biggest drawback is that people did not get enough time to know her and her substance, something that they have been able to do so with Donald Trump, more so perhaps because he's been a former president and has been campaigning quite steadily for a long time.
I think that might be part of the reason. We know Trump as an entity here in the States. He's been part of the political zeitgeist for well over a decade now. And Kamala Harris, while she's had a pretty extensive political career, isn't particularly well known on the national stage. That said, her joining the race late, according to some of the sources that I've spoken to, might have also offered her a little bit of a benefit in that she didn't have as much time to make a major mistake. So there's elements that are playing against her in that people really are not entirely sure what her platform may be, but she's gone ahead and tried to balance that with a lot of media appearances, kind of explaining her platform, and hasn't made any major flubs, which was kind of the risk of a longer campaign. If, for example, she had a poor debate performance that, like Biden did, it might have knocked her further down in the polls. But right now, it's unclear exactly what factors are contributing to voter kind of attitudes, but that element of not knowing Kamala Harris tends to be a pretty frequent talking point among voters. They're just not sure who she is.
Catherine, why is Donald Trump's Madison Square rally in NYC being called so historic? Take us through in terms of what was the rhetoric coming out of that rally and the celebrity endorsements as well.
Yeah, so the Madison Square Garden rally was unique in that it was a pretty notable departure from the hyper-focus that the campaigns have been placing on swing states. This is a traditionally very blue state, New York, but it's also Trump's hometown. And it had an audience of about 20,000 people at the Madison Square Garden event. It was a significant turnout. And what was meant to be kind of like a triumphant sort of appearance really took kind of a dark tone. Analysts have been concerned about some of the rhetoric, some of the concerning elements there. But while there were consistent commentary, anti-immigration, anti-LGBT rights conversation, there was also a balance of real star power at Trump's campaign. There was Elon Musk, one of the richest men in the world, wrestler superstar Hulk Hogan, country singer Lee Greenwood, as well as some political influencers like Tucker Carlson, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who suspended his own campaign to endorse Trump. So it was a balance of both trying to hype up the audience, have a lot of really big, well-known names, but that was also somewhat dampened by what analysts are calling a pretty chaotic type of event that had a couple of eye-raising moments that really seemed to trouble some voters. And in fact, the Trump campaign has distanced itself from some of the comments made by people who were appearing at the event.
Catherine, how is one to view the enthusiastic turnout of die-hard supporters in the deepest blue city during this rally? Is it for Donald Trump homecoming to a city that till some time ago rejected him, tore his names off buildings, put him on trial, and even barred Donald Trump from doing business in the state?
Yeah, I think homecoming is a big part of it, but Trump has a pretty widespread base of support across the country,
Hmm.
even in some of these more urban areas where you'd traditionally think they might go completely blue. He still does hold a pretty significant base, and where he goes, he's quite popular. And then that goes doubly for New York, where he was such a prominent entity for so long.
Right,
While there are many people, and he has faced significant legal trouble in the state, there
right.
is a kind of a double-edged sword of people who are really not particularly fond of the former president, and those who are now at this point pretty diehard for him. That at this point they really see that there's not much that he could do or say to diminish that support. And those are the types of folks who are turning out to this rally, were those really kind of
Right.
fundamental base supporters who came out in support of the former president.
Catherine, to end with, Kamala Harris's campaign has said that the Madison Square Garden rally was mirroring the same dangerously divisive and demeaning message as Donald Trump himself. You have Hillary Clinton, in fact, accusing him of reenacting a pro Nazi rally that was held at Madison Square Garden back in the year 1939 on the eve of World War II. Why are such parallels being drawn? And will such a rhetoric sort of impact or persuade the undecided bipartisan voter?
Yeah, so the campaign event at Madison Square Garden is drawing a lot of comparisons to that 1939 rally held by Nazis prior to the World War II. I think some of the major through lines there, some of the similarities are these portions of really extreme rhetoric. Trump himself had kind of escalated his anti-immigration stance and suggested that he might use a law best known for its role in Japanese internment during World War II. It's called the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. That is a law that may be invoked in times of declared war or when a foreign government threatens or undertakes an invasion or predatory incursion of U.S. territory. So it's really kind of heightened the idea of the migrant crisis to one of an invasion. Trump also reiterated some of his comments calling Democrats the enemy from within the country, which he's previously indicated might warrant military use to solve. So people are drawing some pretty concerning parallels about the high levels of extremist rhetoric and the hyper-nationalistic sort of tone that was struck at the event. That said, it wasn't nearly as extreme in rhetoric as a true Nazi rally, of course, and there wasn't a level of violence as there was in the 1939 rally, where a Jewish protester was beaten fairly severely and charged with disorderly conduct. So there are some similarities and differences, and I think from my perspective, the kind of Trump is a fascist or similar to the Nazi Party, that rhetoric has not been effective for voters or undecided voters so far. I'm not sure that it's a winning strategy now. That said, it is concerning, and it is something that is increasing as we head into the election, with some of Trump's former officials drawing some of those same lines. So it remains unclear whether or not that's going to have an effect on voter turnout. But for me personally, I'm a little skeptical because it's a talking point that's been used before that has not necessarily resonated with voters previously.
All right, we leave it at that. Many thanks to you, Catherine, for sharing with us your precious insights. It was a pleasure speaking to you.